All right, to start off putting switches in, I'm going to pick an area to start in, which I'm going to start up here in this upper right-hand corner in the bedroom. And as I work through, I'm going to place the switch and run the light as well as build that lighting circuit. Not the circuit that goes in the breaker box, but the actual just light to switch connection. I'm going to do all this because it seems like a better idea to do all that together and move my way across. If you want to use a different system, that is completely 100% fine. Okay, so just a couple of the different types of switches as a reminder. In the bedroom is a very simple one where I can go ahead and go to Systems, and under Device, make sure I pick the lighting switch device. I have a bunch of choices here. I actually just need a single pole for this first one because I have one switch controlling. I'm going to put it right by the door. Zooming in is oftentimes very helpful. Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and click the light I'm going to attach it to, click the switch button, pick that switch that I just put in. The last thing I'm going to do is under Systems still is grab wire, and I'm going to run from an intersection on my switch out to curve it and then up to the light. This is what I mean about doing that whole thing as a system. Okay. Now, in all actuality, that light should probably be a three-way switch. So I'm going to change that right now. In case you make the same mistake I did, you can zoom in on the switch itself and change the type to a three-way switch. So now my question mark becomes 3. The other three-way switch is actually going to be over here by the bathroom. So I'll go to the switch, go to three-way, put that here. As you remember from before, we can attach 2 switches to one light, so I don't have to do that part, but what I am going to do is run then the wire from the switch also to the same light. That's how I know that that's a three-way switch that both control that light. If you have a situation where a single switch will control 2 lights, the way that's going to work is we're going to put our single pole switch. Remember, single pole is what we use for when there's one switch. Three ways we use for 2 or more switches. I am going to click both lights, hold Control to pick them both, click Switch, pick the switch. That part's done. Back to Systems, wire, switch, curving to the first light, curving to the second light. So those are really the light switch portions. So let's look at some of the specialty stuff that I'm going to have to do. So one of the things that I was going to do is I was going to put my switch to control the garbage disposal in right now. So to do that, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of my other outlets, because if you remember from the outlets video, I moved these up and it tells me my elevation is 3'9". The reason I want to know that is as I go to my lighting device, single pole switch, and I put my single pole switch on the wall here, which I have to do very carefully to make sure I am on the wall. I want to make sure that my elevation, modify the switch, my elevation matches. So this was going to be 3'9" so that it matches the other outlets that are there. And then very simply, if I pick my outlet here, it doesn't give me a switch option, so I don't need to make that connection. But what I will do is wire my switch, because this switch otherwise is just kind of sitting here. And this is not a very long wire, but I'm going to wire it to that outlet so that you can see that is what runs there. The other one that's kind of different from what we've done in the past is the exterior lights. So I'm going to do this one here. I'm going to go ahead. This one also is going to be a single pole switch because one switch is controlling it. I'm going to put it right here next to the back door. Just like before when I had a multi-switch or a multi-light thing, hold Control, select all 3. Tell the switch to be this switch here. Then I go back to systems, grab my wire. This one I'm actually going to wire backwards. And then what I'm going to do is, as you might imagine, basically pretend like the wall's not there and just wire it in so that that switch is controlling the exterior lights. That's really the only difference. So that's what you're going to do, working your way all the way through the entire house. Okay, remember you use three-way switches where you control light or lights from more than one spot. I'll use that again like in my living room for these the 5 can lights. I'll use that also in the hallway where I'd want one switch down here, one switch down here to control these 2 lights. As well as feel free to use the other lights. One of the places where I might use a different style of light, as I have this dining room. And so when I go to systems and when I go to the device, one of the ones that we haven't used before is what's called a dimmer. This would allow you to adjust, like with a slider or a knob, the amount of light you have in your dining room. Okay, the only difference is where the other ones have a question mark or a 3, this one has a D for dimmer. It goes in just the same. So you click to put it on the wall, I click the light that it controls, switch, click that, go back to systems, and I run my wire from here, curving to there. One of the other things that you might want to think about is sometimes you have the outlets where you have, you have 2 switches in the same box. So like for this, I'm going to also put a lighting switch that is a single pole switch right next to it. Okay, so these 2 right next to each other. This switch is going to actually control the other lights that are in the dining room here. I have a couple of lights here that I want to hold control, pick both, switch. They attach to that switch. And systems wise, I'm going to wire this to here and this to here. What I'm going to try to do is make sure I don't cross these. So that's not ideal. I might actually mess with these some in terms of it might make more sense to kind of switch their location. But what I might need to do is actually curve this one even more so you can see that it attaches to that second one. You see what I did there. And like I said, by using this system of place the switch, connect the switch to the lights, and run the wires, you can see very easily which ones I've done and which ones I have not. That's the way I would suggest continuing throughout the entire house.